there's a lot in that. I think, first of all, it's just being in your body. It's being in touch with how you feel, what sensations are going through your body on a day-to-day basis, just having that kind of dialogue with yourself. And some women lose that. They're so in the caring for others and the hustle and bustle of their daily lives, and they've disconnected themselves. They've dissociated from their physical being. That
Absolutely.
then sex is such a natural physical thing that it's very difficult to translate, into that kind of language.
Yeah.
And so I think that self exploration and that being in touch with yourself, that's in the sexual sphere, but it's also outside of the sexual sphere is really important.
Mhm.
And, I wonder for women who are, they were raised in a very religious setting,
Okay.
how that can be undone because there are certain conservative values that I'm 100% with, the fact that husband and wife, this is a vow for life. This is, you know, your ride or die, and this is the place where you call home. I'm 100% behind that. But the way I see things is that there's nothing holier, than sex within a marriage. And women who are also criticizing themselves for their sexual desires within a healthy marriage, under one roof,
Sure.
within a family, that just honestly makes me sad because there's nothing pure and there's nothing better you can do for your love life and for your family life than having that intimate connection with your husband to keep him, feeling like a man. It's also something that we don't talk about, but how much men need to feel like they're doing a good job, like they're able to satisfy their woman. That's something we don't like to talk about. Never force me, never make me, do something that I don't want to do. Obviously, that everything within a limit and everything between people who love each other and want the best for each other. But I don't think that we talk about the psychological effect that that has on the man who feels like he's not wanted, and he's not manly anymore in her eyes. So
Right.
how do you
Power.
find uh, this effect on men? What have you seen?
So many. Okay. Can I go back to a
Of course
couple?
you can. Of course you can.
Okay. One thing I wanted to say is you are so right about that disembodiment that happens for all of, and with technology now, and we're all on computers all the time, we're just all above the neck, and there's
Cognitive, yes.
no good sex from there. Now, so now, the wonderful thing is we have great research that shows that if you're willing to meditate a little bit every day, like 10 minutes, or go to yoga 3 times a week, that's going to help counteract this problem. So if you have listeners who are saying, gosh, I don't even know what turns me on, I am completely disconnected from my body, that's what you can do. And yoga or meditation, and it doesn't have to be a huge commitment either, which is so cool. And even better, it affects so many aspects of your life. So if it's good for your sex life, it's good for your life. It's good for your relationship. So it's not just about making your sex life better. It's really going to, um, the odds are very good that it's going to improve your experience of life more generally. So let's just give that as a key.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
As far as the religious messages,
Yeah.
are easily absorbed about that counteract people letting go into sex and enjoying sex. Honestly, how I deal with that is might sound silly, but we actually do have research behind how this is helpful. That is both neurological kinds of research, but also just anecdotal. If what I would have, if I had a client in my office who was concerned about that, which I do all the time, I ask her to think back, or him. I ask but often her. So I asked her to think back to a moment where that message felt very real to her. So she can remember a moment she was in a place of religion, she was getting a lecture from her parents or whatever. She heard someone else being shamed and it
Yeah,
yeah,
that sense of shame was, visceral in
right.
how she felt it all of a sudden. Absolutely.
Exactly. So and the more she can feel that I'd have her imagine it, tell me about what she's seeing, feel it in her body, and then who she is now. She closes her eyes in my session, goes back and talks to that young woman. How would you parent that child if that was your daughter? Or what do you want that child to really understand? What's being miscommunicated there? And reteach that younger person. As silly as that sounds, it is incredibly helpful. Now, you may need to go back and reteach yourself at several points of life. It might not just be one 5-minute interaction, but you know the wisdom that you want to impart to her. So you just have it's really a matter of what's going on is your frontal lobes, your conscious mind is communicating with your unconscious mind through this imagery, and you're allowing your wisdom from here to seep back here, and it is helpful. So that's how I handle that.
Amazing, amazing. No, that's really, really good advice because I think knowing where these kind of unconscious influences are coming from and rewriting, from our adult perspective today, something that we internalized as 15-year-olds, that
Right.
has a very big effect.
That's right. And if she finds that she gets to know that 15-year-old well enough that she can feel her show up in her body before sex, like, okay,
Yeah,
there's that feeling. So then take a little moment, connect with that 15-year-old. I understand you're feeling uncomfortable. Let's put you over here. Everything's fine. And like soothe her.
yeah,
And so we really do have parts of ourselves that are kind of stuck in our heads and we can have relationships with them. We just can. Um, it's really just about connecting to our unconscious, which is very difficult to do. So we need these little strategies and tricks to do it. So yeah. So
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we're not masters in our own house, as the
that's
saying goes. And we're, multifaceted beings. And just
right.
knowing that there are different forces that are pushing and pulling us. And the fact that these early experiences we've internalized them, but you said they're unconscious. They're kind of operating on us and they're making a certain emotion rise. For a woman who
Right.
has shame around sex, that sense of shame just bubbles up and she doesn't realize where it's coming from unless she explores it. And, she can tell that young 15-year-old, I'm 38, I'm married, I have two beautiful children, a husband who loves me and who's faithful to me. This there's no shame here.
That's right. That's actually absolutely right. And there's a book, and I can't think of the title, but this is based on a form of therapy called internal family systems.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. And there's at least one book on how to do, it's called IFS, how to do IFS on yourself. And that's essentially what we're talking about.
Parenting.
Yeah. So if your listeners are wanting more information about this, I would just encourage them to look into that IFS literature and there she'll find a self-help book that'll help guide her.